Um, I'll start with this was an absolutely horrible anime. Uh,
Okay.
so I have a lot of problems with this anime, but the first one is that this didn't feel like a proper show. It felt like a series of cutscenes from a very boring MMO.
Um,
Everyone's dialogue, they didn't actually respond to each other. They were just kind of stating things. There was this one scene, I don't know if it was episode 11 or 12, but they were like explaining the Bard class for a suspiciously long amount of time. And I was like, why are you telling me this? This does not advance the plot. I don't need to know this. This doesn't affect me. And they
mm,
spent like a good like 4 minutes of a 20-minute episode being like, yes, bards have this and they can do buffs and they can do that. And it's kind of like playing Dance Dance Revolution. And I was like, why is this relevant to any of the plot? Why are you spending time telling me this? And that's just one example, but the show does that like a lot where it'll tell you information that you absolutely do not need to know and is not relevant to anything. And maybe it's relevant in season 2 or 3 or whatever movies this thing may have. But I really hate when a show is like, oh, don't worry, once you get to like season 2 or 3, that's when it gets good. It's like, no, be good from the start.
Hunter x Hunter fans.
well, to be fair,
That's not strictly true for Hunter. Come on now, Hunter x Hunter.
yeah, nah,
Well, what I hear about Hunter x Hunter is that it's slow, but it's not bad.
Nah,
yes.
no, Hunter x Hunter. They even like the final arc. They do a lot of explaining. Like they're still explaining. Like, they just
The
do it throughout.
final arc?
Yeah. Well, not the final, but like the final one in the anime.
Anywho,
They come
I
around.
also did not like the animation. It felt very like obvious and very uncreative. I thought the character designs, I get that they were trying to be like, this is clearly an MMO, but I'm like, you could still be an interesting MMO. Like, I honestly don't play that many video games, but like, a lot of video games have a very specific style. Skyrim has a very specific style. League of Legends has a very specific style.
True.
I don't know, Overwatch has a very specific style.
Hmm.
Uh, this show had like the blandest style for MMO. It was just like generic MMO number 9. There was nothing that there's nothing that really told you about the characters with their outfits except for like this one has a staff. Haha, that means they're a sorcerer. And I'm like, you could add anything to this person, runes, a spell book, something like they were all wearing just like generic robe you could find in like the bath section of a Macy's, and like none of their outfits gave any indication what their characters were beyond like the most base level of like bards wear this, tanks wear this. I was like, okay, why every time I was watching the show, I was like, why am I watching this? I've learned nothing. I've watched 4 hours of content and I've learned nothing.
What you finished all of it?
Yes.
Oh wow, what a trooper! All
I was
24
gonna
of them.
quit at episode 9, but you guys were like, no, you have to keep finishing it. And I still
Wait,
learned nothing. The last like episode and a half was like bards can do DR and knights cast spells. That's what I learned. What are the goals of any of these characters?
they don't have any. Understated. We should
I
just
feel like
assume it.
that's kind of intentional though,
It may be
because
intentional, but it's still bad.
well, the whole point of the show I feel is that like none of them know why they're there, and they kind of want to give the viewers and watchers like the same feel like what is going on with like a lack of understanding what's going on and just trying to make like the best of the situation that they're put in.
Yeah, but if you were in a world where you didn't know what was going on, then your goal would be what is going on? I'm trying to figure out what's going on. This is now like a mystery.
Well,
None
that's
of
like
that,
what
none of the characters
Shiro's
are,
whole his whole thing is that that's like what he's trying to do, but while he's trying to do that, he's trying to make the living situation as best as it can be for the time being, since they don't know explicitly how long they're gonna be there for.
maybe
That is
that was
really
the director's
explored.
intention, but how it comes off is he's just existing.
Yeah, that's yeah.
He's like, oh, food doesn't taste good.
They
Okay.
do not mention that quite a bit, but like every once in a while they'll throw you a bone and just remind you that he's just looking for the way to get out. Like in one of the dungeons that he later does, there's these moths that are destroying the antenna, and they find out that the only way, or the people that know why they're there, are living on the moon, so they have to use the antenna to communicate with them. It's kind of weird. But yeah, so they have to determine if they're gonna kill the moths and break the antenna, or if they want a hope of contacting the people on the moon. So that gives him at least some character development, like
So,
showing that he has a weakness, and that like, because he was trying to command, but he wasn't being very effective since he was trying to determine whether he wanted to destroy it or not, even while they were in the dungeon, wiping out the moths.
I mean, that's all well and good, mate, but I don't want bones. As I said, I wanted steaks. I don't want the steak bones. I want the actual steak. So it's kind of like, yeah, as I said before, yeah, if that was explored more and if more stuff like that happened, then
Yeah,
we can
nothing was
talk.
truly explored. It was like, we'll throw you this bone and then we won't do anything with it.
Yet.
Yeah.
Well, in
And
a one season, I'm expecting something to be dealt with, and nothing was
That's
dealt with.
fair, I feel.
Because then I'm like,
It was
okay,
just
you've given me this information. Shows give you information because it's supposed to matter. They're not supposed to give you information that doesn't mean anything. So then I get this information, and then nothing happens with this information, and then I'm just stuck with why am I watching this?